SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Barcelona, the industry-leading conference bringing you the future of sports betting and iGaming.
SBC Summit Barcelona is where you can experience the global industry coverage under one roof. Expect an industry-leading conference agenda covering all verticals across 7 stages, a huge trade show floor filled with over 3,000 exhibitors, and luxury networking events at premium venues in one of Europe's coolest cities. Join 10,000 executives this September at the event drawing the industry's eyes. Get your tickets now at sbcevents.com.
It feels like only yesterday that I and SBC were roaming around the streets of New York and then experiencing the hustle and bustle of Toronto. But the event calendar waits for no one, and with SBC Summit Barcelona just under 2 months away, here at iGaming Daily, we thought it would be great to start looking a little closer into the topics that would be gracing the conference room floor from the 19th to the 21st of September. And the panel session that we'll be looking at today on iGaming Daily will take place on the 21st of September, 3 p.m. local time, and is titled Betting on Sustainability, the Rise of ESG in iGaming. The panel will include Sophie Platts, Head of Safer Gambling and External Affairs at Entain, Harold Peer, the Founder and CEO at HTAR, and Gustav Hodsted, the General Secretary at BOSS. And more importantly, joining me today to look deeper into the session and the topic at hand is actually the person who will be moderating that panel, Shelley White, the CEO at the Responsible Gambling Council. Welcome to the pod, Shelley. How are you doing today?
I'm great, James. Thanks very much for having me on your show.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And I mentioned in my intro, and I only felt like yesterday I was in Toronto, and the same statement can actually be said to you after the interview that we did for an upcoming video documentary that we did. And I'm happy that it's not been too long in between us having these conversations.
It was great to host everyone in Toronto, and it was the Canadian Gaming Summit was excellent. So, and I'm really looking forward to Barcelona.
Yeah, Toronto was incredible. It was my first experience of it, and I've been to Barcelona twice for the SBC Summit Barcelona, and each year it's just doubled in size, and it's just been a complete different level each time. So it's going to be the same this year. But before we get on to the specific topic of the panel, I first just wanted to ask you, what are you looking forward to the most about the panel session?
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to chat with the 3 experts that are going to be on the panel. I've done work with Sophie Platts and at Entain, and she's brilliant with respect to the work that she's done around safer gambling. I've heard of and I'm aware of the great work that Harold Pia and Gustav Hofstede are doing as well. And so I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to meet with them and talk to them about what is going on in their worlds and talk and hear about ESG from their perspective. I think that's the most exciting thing about these panels and these conversations is the diversity of thought and hearing about these really important topics from leaders who have different perspectives.
Yeah, no, definitely. And with the speakers, there's always a broad range on these panels, and this one's no different. For you, what do you think are the unique qualities that each of these speakers brings to this specific discussion?
Yeah, I think that the attendees who come to this session are in for a real treat because this is a very, very diverse panel with a broad range of experience. So Gustav, as the Secretary General of the Swedish Trade Association for Online Gambling, we're going to get the opportunity to hear his perspective about working with regulators and operators for an organization that works with Swedish consumers. And then Harold will offer his experiences in the brand and marketing side of the industry as the founder and CEO of HTAR AG, and how his company views ESG and weaves it into their work and their clients' work. And finally, Sophie, as I mentioned, she's the head of Safer Gambling and External Affairs at Entain Group. And so I'm looking forward to hearing about Sophie's experiences from the operator side and how Entain works to ensure that they are looking at ESG when they are marketing consumers and working with regulators and the general public.
Mm-hmm. And on ESG itself, on the topic, recently for you, how has the industry kind of shifted its approach towards social responsibility, kind of with a focus on diversity and inclusion in the workforce?
Sure. So we're hearing, I've seen a tremendous increase in the industry talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making this a real high priority over the last few years. It's included into all aspects of the organizations. It's included in their strategy. They see it as both an internal imperative in terms of, recruitment, retention of employees of their workforce, but they also understand it's crucial with respect to understanding the needs of and interests of their and values, culture, beliefs of their broad range of consumers as well. And so it's quite a high priority, as it is for RGC. We've really leaned into this. It's an absolute priority in terms of including, creating an inclusive culture where people belong and feel respected and valued. And it's also a priority for us in terms of the work that we do with the public, as well as with the operators and their work with respect to responsible gambling, and understand the correlation and the interconnection between equity, diversity, inclusion, and responsible gambling, and how important it is to have that cultural sensitivity in terms of how they develop and deliver safer gambling programs and services.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think the iGaming industry has shifted towards a sustainable growth model and incorporated ESG factors into its business practices?
Well, we're seeing it in so many different ways. So, I see a lot of the industry, the online gambling industry, adopting many of the sustainable development goals that were developed by the United Nations. So they're looking at how they manage things like the environment, and managing climate change risks, as well as energy consumption and strategy and management, as well as resource depletion, things like, including water, and how they're managing waste and pollution, etc. And that's imperative for them in terms of their operations, but they know that it's also imperative to their customers as well. And then from a social perspective, once again, there's a myriad of opportunities within the S side of ESG. So you're looking at working conditions and including worker health and safety, and things like managing employee turnover and retention. And then we also already mentioned equity, diversity, and inclusion, how important that is. As well as, there's a huge focus on the kind of impact that they're having on local communities, and how they're engaging and interacting with their local communities, how they're giving back. Also, significant focus on customer relationships and interactions, and ensuring that they're, understanding the unique, like I said before, culture, values, beliefs of their customer base, and communicating and relating to them in a way that's meaningful and relevant to them. And then also making investments in the community through philanthropy and other contributions. And then finally, the G side, which is governance, and looking at board composition to ensure that it's diverse, that it has a good mix, balance of women and men, as well as other ethno-cultural and racial communities included. And then also looking at things like anti-bribery and corruption, as well as money laundering, what their tax strategy is, and then, ensuring that there's that integration of ESG in operations management, and that they have policies and practices on business ethics and fraud in place. So those are a few significant examples of the way that the online gambling industry is approaching ESG in a very, very serious and methodical way.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen a lot of attitudes change in a wider sense of things towards ESG. What role do you think these changing of the attitudes have played towards this transformation?
Well, I think that operators really are understanding the benefits that ESG contribute to the organization in terms of, managing waste management and managing costs and contributing to the controls in climate change, but also, consumer sentiment. And, we know that consumers care about these issues around climate change and poverty and employment and, giving back to society, etc. And so they understand that, by being a good corporate citizen, that they engender positive relationships with both their customers as well as their employees. And in this kind of labor market that we're experiencing globally, that is so important in terms of having a ESG-focused company really does help operators be able to attract and retain the right talent. It also finally, it makes these companies so much more appealing in terms of their reputation, in terms of capital markets and from a policy and from a regulator perspective. So it really boosts the reputation of the industry, having the industry focus on ESG.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of two more questions to wrap up this part of the podcast. For the listeners who will be attending SBC Barcelona, give them a pitch. Why should they come to your panel session? What would they get from it?
The attendees at SBC Barcelona should come to this session because ESG is going to become one of the most important strategic imperatives from an accountability and reporting perspective. We're going to be seeing globally more regulators, more overarching authoritative organizations actually requiring organizations to have ESG in place. So that's one reason in terms of that requirement. But the second reason is that for those operators and others who are interested in being a high-performing organization that is, has a very high profile and influence with employees, with customers, and with society, ESG is the best way for operators to demonstrate their commitment to being a good corporate citizen.
Perfect. And for you, Shelley, what are you looking forward to most at this year's SBC Summit Barcelona?
Well, besides being in Barcelona, which is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, it's really about, having the opportunity to be together with leaders in the industry and having the opportunity to talk about, the key issues that we're facing and what their perspectives are, and how they're handling it. I think that kind of collaboration and sharing is so essential. And it's also a great opportunity for us to build new partnerships with organizations that will enable us to do better work going forward. And then just learning, attending the sessions and learning. This industry is changing so rapidly, and it's important that we continue to stay on top of the trends that are taking place. So I'm really looking forward to the learning aspect of the conference as well.
Perfect. And just from this little insight into ESG, environmental, social, and governance, I can already tell it's going to be an interesting topic and discussion at SBC Summit Barcelona, and which will no doubt be covered on SBC's roster of sites during the event. Before we get on to the next little round, which is a nice little fun round, which we're introducing to this, I'll include any links to the event agenda, specifically this panel session and SBC Summit Barcelona's landing page as well in the description below for people to check out. But Shelley, just before we round up this podcast, I thought it'd be quite interesting to have kind of a quick fire question round, all revolving around Barcelona. So first off, how is your knowledge of all things Barcelona?
I've got a little bit of knowledge about Barcelona. I've been there 3 times, and I have to say that one of my favorite tapas places is We May. So there's a shout out for We May, best tapas in Barcelona.
I can already say you're better at me because you're pronouncing Barcelona the correct way. And I know our producer, Mollie, she's fluent in Spanish. So she's going to absolutely hate me because I am awful with pronunciation of some words. But we'll try and get there. So are you ready for this quick fire round?
I'm looking forward to it, James. I'm ready.
Perfect. So first off, Barcelona FC or Real Madrid?
Barcelona FC.
Okay. So the La Sagrada Familia or Park Güell?
Oh, that's hard. Parkwell.
Parkwell, okay. I would have gone Sagrada Familia. Paella or tapas?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with tapas. At We May.
Good choice. Cool. Gaudi or Picasso?
Oh, Picasso.
Okay. Sangria or Cava?
Oh, Cava.
Sangria boy myself. Barcelona Museum or the Picasso Museum?
The Picasso Museum.
Churros or crema catalana? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Oh, churros. Oh, yes.
Churros. Yeah. Tibidabo or Montjuic?
I'm going to go with Montjuic.
Okay. I do know the Tibidabo is a amusement park, a theme park. So I'm just going to pick that one because I love theme parks. And the last one, and I am going to absolutely butcher the second part of this because I've went on Google to see how to pronounce it and I just can't do it. Las Ramblas or Passeig de Gracia?
La Rambla.
La Rambla. Perfect. And that was a quick fire round. That's pretty fun. I like that. Gives you a nice little flavour of Barcelona.
Oh, it's an amazing city. And now that we've had that quick fire, I'm even more excited to get there.
What we've essentially done right now is we've given a lot of people who are visiting Barcelona for the first time a list of things to do or try when they get to Barcelona. I just want to say thank you for joining me on the podcast today. It's been absolutely brilliant having you. And to the listeners out there, again, go into the description below to check all the agendas and the landing page at SBC Summit Barcelona. And we'll see you on Monday. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Barcelona, being held at the Fira Barcelona Montjuic on the 19th to the 21st of September. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.